All right, everyone, you're listening to Locked On NHL, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, bringing you all the latest, greatest news about the hockey world right here on your favorite podcast app of choice or on YouTube.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, I am Sarah Avampato, host of Locked On Los Angeles Kings, here with, as always, my Western Conference partner in crime, Jess Belmosto, host of Locked On Flames, here to talk about what is going on in the world. And Jess, we're starting out with some big breaking news, like literally minutes before we began to record this show.
Yeah.
What's up?
So, we were trying to figure out, most of this off season, we've been trying to find that third segment, just kind of hit all those good points. And well, Kirill is there to stay. He's in Minnesota for 5 years at $9 million. That's a bargain, I think, for what things, not for me, but what they were projecting, that 10, 11 million figure. Good for Bill Guerin, and obviously, I'm glad that he's staying in the NHL. I think it's great for Minnesota. Good for him, obviously. And I appreciate this because I really think that this makes Minnesota legit.
Yeah, it was touch and go there for a while. And if you
months.
listen to Locked on Wild, and our host Seth of that show, the existential crisis that he was having as this got prolonged, and all the rumors of Kaprizov going back to the KHL, not wanting to stay here, all of the different hoops that the Wild had to go through to get him that deal, and it is all paid off. Kaprizov has cashed in, and he is going to be a problem for all the rest of the teams who have to face him. So at least my nightmare didn't come true of a situation where Kaprizov only played 1 year in the NHL, and then that happened to be the year that my team had to play him 8 times.
Yeah.
That would have been really unfair. But he is back to stay. He is obviously a very exciting young player in this league. He is the kind of player the Wild have been looking for ages. They have always kind of needed that star power, exciting guy that people are going to want to come see. People go to Oilers games to see Connor McDavid. People go to Capitals games to see Alex Ovechkin. And now people are going to go to Minnesota Wild games to see Kirill Kaprizov play. And I think that's really exciting because the Wild, they deserve to have something nice and fun, especially considering that in a couple years, they're going to be in salary cap hell.
Yeah. Most definitely.
Yeah. So I feel like that's also, going to be interesting to see how this impacts the Wild coming in the future, because there is going to be that year, those handfuls of years coming up where both Zach Parise and Ryan Suter are going to cost them, $12, $14 million against the cap, and they're going to be really crunched. So I guess it's a good thing that they have Kaprizov locked down for the next couple of years. That'll get them through this extreme cap penalty section of the buyout for Parise and Suter, at least. So that's something.
Yeah, and I completely forgot that happened until you mentioned that, because, this offseason has been 6 months. It feels like it. But I think that, those buyouts were done with speculation that Kaprizov was going back to the KHL, so they were going to go all in on Jack Eichel, and only one of those things happened. And I personally like this more for Wild fans.
Yeah. And I think it's very exciting. he is also kind of the rare younger player, I guess, that kind of has a complete game already. And some of that was helped by him spending several years in the KHL. He definitely kind of has that, oh, you're a rookie, but you've already been professional for a while, but KHL doesn't count. So some notes on the contract. There are no signing bonuses per Michael Russo from the Athletics. So what you see is what you get with Kaprizov. And he does have a full no trade contract in years 4 and 5 of the deal. There isn't information yet on the specific breakdown of what he gets per year or whatever, but we've been seeing some real funky stuff with new contracts because of all the things with escrow and all the weird things that have gone on because of COVID. So his contract's probably gonna look a little strange once we get those details. It does buy per cap friendly. It takes up 1 restricted free agent year, 2 arbitration eligible restricted free agent years, and 2 unrestricted free agent years. So this gets him all the way to unrestricted free agency when he can go do whatever the heck he wants once this contract is up.
So probably go back to Russia.
I mean, heck, he's made a ton of money. So
he can do whatever he wants.
Maybe he'll have won a Stanley Cup by then. Not saying on what team.
Yeah. That's the other thing. I think that a contract like that obviously scares trades away because that is a fat cap hit.
Yeah.
And he's only played 1 season in the NHL. Yeah. And I'm not saying like this was just like a one-off sort of deal, but is he going to be worth $9 million or whatever the number is when you break it down?
Right.
In that year, in year 3 or 4. And I know that there's no trade clauses and all that fun stuff. So we'll have to see. We will have to see if the Wild can get it together and bring home a cup. Not just him. There's other players on the team. But,
Yeah, and it does give the Wild something to build around, which isn't really something. They haven't had such an elite player to kind of start centering their roster around. And now that they have a better idea of what he's going to be making for the near future, they can kind of start planning. I'm going to go ahead and guess, though, that this takes them out of the running for Jack Eichel. I think that one's dead in the water.
Yeah. And, I think Jack Eichel and Kaprizov have kind of been going like toe to toe in who's like which domino is going to fall first.
Yeah.
And then we have Vlad Tarasenko.
Yeah.
Again, completely forgot about that until I just mentioned it.
So, right. Like that's
what's going on.
What's up with that?
Camp's open tomorrow, guys.
Yeah, that's a good later in the show we're going to talk about predictions, and I think that we might have to make a prediction about Vladimir Tarasenko.
Yeah.
So everyone stay tuned for that. We're going to come back after this and tell you all about some rookie games that just wrapped up out on the not West Coast, but out in the Western Conference. But before we get into that, I want to tell you all about DirecTV, because chances are you like watching sports and you like watching television. And the most frustrating thing about liking to watch sports and liking to watch television is that you end up with like 16 remote controls and 4 different devices and 800 passwords, and it's just really hard and confusing. Well, we've now got a simple way for you to get all the entertainment that you love without the hassle, and that is DirecTV Stream. It brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, which means that you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. The best part about it is that there is no annual contract, so stop waiting, get your TV together, get rid of all those extra devices, all with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at DirecTV Stream. That's DIR. That's not the address. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's DIRECTV.com. Compatible devices are required and content varies by package. And now we've also got some information on maybe something you can snack on while you're watching your cool new TV setup.
Yes. Built Bar. And speaking of packages, we should be getting some new packages coming very soon with one of the new flavors, cookie dough chunk or crunch chunk, something like that. Sounds delicious. We talked about it on Locked On Kraken today. So Built Bar is just a delicious protein bar. And My favorite thing about it is that it fills you up. It's high in protein, low in sugar. Calories range from 130 to 180. You're only talking about 4 to 5 grams of sugar, and same with net carbs. And the protein's pretty high, 17 to 18 grams. And there's a lot of different flavors. There's variety packs that you can order. There's, if you have a favorite flavor, excuse me, you can just order the strawberry, orange, cookies and cream, double chocolate, whatever makes you happiest. And you can head on over to built.com and use promo code LOCKED15 and you will get 15% off of your order. That's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com.
All right, so let's talk prospects, because I don't know about you, but that's actually kind of one of my favorite things, is looking at all the young kids who are going to be the future of the league and all of that. And this is the time of year for it, because last year especially was weird and disrupted because of COVID. A lot of teams didn't have their rookie camps or anything. Some of the young players dispersed and went to Europe. Some guys didn't get to play at all. So this year, everything is getting back to normal, and lots of different teams are having their prospect tournaments or other sort of rookie roundup. The annual Traverse City tournament just wrapped up out in Michigan. That usually features a lot of the Eastern Conference teams, some of the Western ones too. Chicago's always there, Colorado, Carolina, Detroit, teams like that show up to that. But out on the West, we actually had the Rookie Face-Off tournament in Arizona. This is a tournament that's been moving every year. It hits a different spot. It's been working its way around. It's been in Vegas and in Anaheim, coming to LA and San Jose shortly in the near future. But it featured 4 teams from the Pacific, which was Anaheim, Los Angeles, San Jose, and Vegas, and then 2 teams from the Central, Arizona, because they have now been punted over to the Central, and Colorado as well. So it was a tournament. It wasn't really a tournament. It was just each team got 3 different games, and you got to see some budding rivalries. You got to see some teams that already don't like each other. I will say that the Kings' last game against Vegas already had a little bit of bad blood. So the kids are learning early. There was no Kings versus Ducks game, which I think was a disappointment because they already hate each other. But it was a pretty good preview of, just what we're going to be seeing from these teams in the future and what we're going to be seeing from the AHL. And it was a great chance to get a look at some of the league's top prospects who are out there on the West, and a future of what this league is going to look like, because there's a lot of fun young talent hanging around out there.
Definitely. Excuse me. My goodness, my allergies and that change of season is killing me. But, I think one of my favorite things about prospects is just seeing where they're at now and then looking, 3-4 years down the road and saying, hey, look at how far they've come. Remember when you used to chirp me on Twitter because they never did this? Well, look at them. They don't look like a giraffe on skates anymore. They finally grew into themselves. So I think it's really exciting. It's obviously you have to be an elite player to make it this far. Obviously to make that next step, but just to kind of look at the talent that each organization can look forward to and, who might be that difference maker.
Yeah. And I think one of the other cool things too is that you kind of start to get to see like some like unheralded names, like players who, like, everyone expects, Quentin Byfield to be a big name that you're going to see at this. But there's a lot of guys who have gone undrafted, who were signed as free agents, or who were like lower level draft picks, who at these tournaments or prospect series of games or whatever you want to call them, actually make a really big impression. And some kids earn, they might be on an AHL contract and they do well enough that they earn an NHL deal, or they kind of start to catch the eye of teams who, maybe they're there on a tryout and the team that has them there, doesn't have room for them, but some other team might be interested. So, for as cool as it is to get to see the elite players of this league or the future elite players of this league, I think it's also a really neat chance for players who would otherwise kind of go under the radar to get some attention and to make a difference in games and to say, hey, like, I'm here. I want to be part of your plan.
And, I think, I don't know if late bloomer is the right term to use there, but like just the ones that have kind of just flown under the radar or maybe really haven't had a chance to prove that they were worth drafting or drafting higher because of the pandemic. And, like you said, a lot of these players were displaced or they went to Europe or their college didn't have a season. And I think that's probably one of the more unfortunate things about, probably these next two drafts. Even I think next year's will be a little bit, or I guess technically this, whatever.
Yeah,
the next one
coming up.
Yeah. I think the upcoming draft will be, a little bit more like we'll get to see these guys play and we'll have a little bit more of a grasp on who they are and what exactly they do a little bit better than this past year, just because you can't write a scouting report on an 18-year-old when they're not playing, and their most recent season is from when they were 16. Like it doesn't seem very fair.
I think that was what made this past draft so tough for a lot of teams. And you saw a lot of teams just trading out of the draft or like as we've discussed before. I mean, Arizona comes up a lot on this show, but Arizona has done the really hilarious thing of just hoarding all of next year's draft picks.
They know something we don't.
Yeah, right. And like it's kind of a smart strategy, especially for a team that is rebuilding and doesn't really need the talent quite yet. To say, and Arizona, like, sorry, but is always in so much turmoil that who knows what their scouting department even looked like going into this draft. So it was probably a pretty savvy choice on their part to be like, you know what, we're just going to punt and we'll come back to you next year. But I think there's also going to be a lot of really motivated players going into this draft who feel like they were skipped over because they didn't have a season. So that's going to be a lot of fun to watch too. And I think another interesting thing about particularly this tournament, I keep calling it a tournament, but there was no winner. It was just games, but I don't really know what else to call it. They called it the rookie face-off, but that doesn't roll off the tongue.
I like when you called it the rookie roundup. I thought that was
roundup. Yeah, that works.
Like that.
That works. Hey, hockey, listen, like I got an idea for you. But one of the things I thought most interesting about this was that a lot of these tournaments or roundups or whatever kind of have a little more of like an age or experience cap on them. Usually you kind of age out at like 20, 21 or whatever, sort of when you would age out of juniors. But this thing that the Pacific / a little bit of the Central didn't really have a cap on that so much. So you had a lot of guys who were kind of tweeners who went back and forth between the AHL and NHL. The Kings, who I can speak to the best, obviously, because I cover them, had a couple, one of their goalies is going, I think in his third year pro. They've had a couple guys there who've, this will be their third year pro as well. So it was a really interesting kind of cross section of like experience levels and age, because you had these guys who are maybe 22, 23. And then you also have the kids who were just drafted this year. And so that was also really interesting to see those young guys hold their own against players who have already been playing professionally and against men for a couple of years. So I think that was pretty revealing as well. There's certainly some prospects that I can think of on the Kings who did better than I thought they would, despite their younger age compared to who they were playing against. So a lot of weird, interesting things coming out of our rookie roundups. And a lot of guys who have kind of intrigued me going into this next season.
Most definitely. And I think it's good that they didn't put an age cap on that, because, their development was also hindered because of the pandemic. Like it's not just the kids that are coming up now. It's, the 21, 22-year-olds, even some 23-year-olds probably who, their AHL season hit the brakes and all that, or their college season that year, whatever the case may be, it was hindered in some way. So I guess we'll just, tip our hats to those making decisions there.
Right. Good job, kids.
Woo!
Have fun. And so the ending of our rookie roundups kind of leads us to the preseason starting and team camps opening and everything. So next week we're going to have probably even a little better idea of who's already competing for spots and if there's anything interesting happening with teams as they get ready. AKA, someone please trade for Vlad Tarasenko, please.
We knew that.
Well, we're going to close out today's show with some predictions, including a little bit of wondering on what's going to happen with Tarasenko. But before we get into that, Bet Online is back. They're better than ever, and they are ready to take on the new football season. They're also ready to take on the new hockey season. But let's be real. Football's the thing if you're into sports betting. All eyes are back on the gridiron as teams are back to start another season, and Bet Online is your number one spot for all of your pro and college football action this season. They've got a new updated site and interface. You can find more odds, props, and contests. And overall, you'll get to see why betonline.ag continues to be the number one source for everything football. You can head over to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive a 100% welcome bonus. That is double your initial deposit just for signing up. So it doesn't matter what sport it is. It doesn't matter if it's baseball or boxing or casino games or, your beloved hockey. You can find all of that on betonline.ag, all of the cool offers available for the 2021 season. So head over to betonline.ag, use the promo code LOCKEDON, and get started. It is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. That is betonline.ag, promo code LOCKEDON. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. So this actually ties in pretty well with BetOnline because they also love making predictions, and we're going to do a little bit of that on today's show. So, Jess, what are your wildest, funnest, strangest predictions for this year?
Well, I kind of said it on Twitter already, but I think that Daryl Sutter is going to lose his head coaching job to become the general manager after they fire Brad Treliving.
That is spicy, and I love it.
What about you? What do you have cooking up over there?
I think that we're going to see some surprises in teams that, drop out of the playoffs and don't make it. And I am having my eye on some of the Canada teams. I think that some of them may have had the benefit of playing only Canadian teams this past year in the playoffs, given our all-Eastern Conference Stanley Cup final that we had last year. So I would not be surprised to see some major players drop in and out of the playoffs. Signing Kaprizov kind of threw a wrench in everything for me because I was very eager to say the Wild are super missing the playoffs this year. But Kaprizov is the kind of guy who can drag a team back to somewhat respectability. I don't want to compare him to Connor McDavid quite yet. He's a different player, but we see the same thing in Edmonton of if you took McDavid and Draisaitl off that team.
Is there a team at that point?
Is there a team? Yeah. So I hesitate to make the boldest prediction of what teams are going to drop out of the playoffs, but I do think we're going to see some surprises shifting around, especially in the East, which I know is not quite our territory, but now that the Metro is back to what it's supposed to be, and there's a lot of competition for not a lot of spots, and maybe weird prediction is Seattle just is kind of there.
Oh,
maybe they're not. I don't think they're going to come out and be Vegas, but I don't think that they're going to come out and be Buffalo. I think they might just be a team,
a middle of the road team, teetering on that.
Yeah, they'll
wild card spot.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say they'll be like the new Minnesota Wild of just existing, which really feels insulting to the Kraken.
You have really nice colors, both teams, really.
I will also note that if you haven't seen it already, everyone should go and look up Chris Streeter's goalie pads for the Kraken because they are fire emoji to sound like an old person who doesn't know how the kids talk these days, but they are just the coolest pads. There's tentacles on them, and I'm super cool about that. But yeah, that's a little bit of an aside. But Seattle, I don't know. I don't think they're gonna blow anyone's socks off. We all said that about Vegas, and then we were all wrong, though. So
But I feel like Vegas is like a once in a lifetime sort of deal.
Yeah, I hope
I
so.
just,
I
I
can't
don't
take
know.
it again.
I can't. Please make it stop. But I do agree with you on the potential drop off of Canadian teams, and I'm specifically looking at Montreal only because of how the Atlantic stacks up. I think that the Panthers definitely I think that they're going to go toe to toe with Tampa Bay. I really do. I think they'll be 1-2.
That's going to be so exciting. I'm ready for I feel like the Battle of Florida is something that just can keep evolving until one day, like, the Panthers slay the nemesis. It feels a little bit like whenever St. Louis finally beat Chicago in the playoffs, and Chicago was kind of on their downswing anyway, but for St. Louis, it was like, we finally did it. And I feel like that might be what we see on the East Coast with the Floridas. But speaking about St. Louis, let's bring it all full circle. Vladimir Tarasenko, what's up with that?
It has been complete radio silence. You haven't seen any of these hockey insiders coming back from their cottages and tweeting about any updates. Nothing on the Jack Eichel front either. So I think everyone's just kind of stuck. And I think that there might be a reason why teams don't want this, because they don't want to deal with somebody just completely outing their negligence. And maybe you should fix your negligence.
Yeah.
So it's not there, so you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah. My guess is that, particularly on the Tarasenko front, that nothing gets done. And I would say that he sits out. Until forces someone's hand. But I could very easily see him not reporting because he has told them, I don't want to be here. And, just not going to show up. Like, it's gutsy, but I could see it.
I don't disagree. And I haven't looked yet, but I wonder if St. Louis puts out their training camp rosters before camp opens. I know some teams did it like an hour or so ago for camps that open tomorrow. I'm not really sure when the Blues does, but is his name going to be on the list? Is it not? Are they not putting out a roster because they know it'll just cause some pot stirring?
Yeah. I mean, it's a crummy situation. I feel like it's easy to kind of make fun of them, but at the end of the day, it still is a guy's life, and if he doesn't trust his team anymore to do right by him, he's using the only leverage he has, which is why I think that he might just not show up. Even if he's on the roster, he just might be like, I'm out, guys. And I feel like Eichel's going to be an interesting situation. I could see more easily with Eichel that he doesn't get traded and instead gets whatever that surgery is he wanted, and then so the Eichel saga continues for another half year at least or something. But I think that all of those situations, both are kind of waiting for one domino to fall.
Like they're both waiting for the other shoe to drop. Except no one's going to do it.
No, that's crazy talk.
I just can't believe that Eichel hasn't had his surgery yet. Like, that's so painful.
There is supposed to be, I think by the time all of you listen to this show, it may have already happened, but I saw something about how the Sabres are supposed to have some kind of news conference on Wednesday. And so people were already wildly speculating as to what that conference might be about. But,
interesting.
I feel like sometimes they're red herrings, though, because it's like, oh, our conference is about like our new sponsor. And everyone's like, what about Jack Eichel? But,
and they're like, no questions.
Right. But we could learn something about Eichel's status coming up at this conference, or we could learn that like Buffalo has a new 8th jersey or something.
Right.
So who knows?
Like, are they just going to go over their like theme nights that they put out today? And they're going to say, okay, guys, like, surprise, here's
That'd be
even
amazing.
more.
That'd be great. Just
That'd be
totally
Buffalo.
punk everybody.
Yeah.
Well, I think that we're going to have a lot of exciting news coming up to talk about next week as training camps open, as the saga of Vladimir Tarasenko continues. So we will keep you up to date on all of that and all of our hot, medium, or mild spicy takes as we get closer to the season. And yeah, you'll hear more from us. So that is it for us here today on the show. Just tell people where they can find you and your show and all your cool stuff online.
So you can find the show Locked On Flames wherever you get this podcast. And of course, on the YouTube channel as well, Locked On Flames. Still a work in progress, but you should see some stuff there. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter if you're watching on YouTube, right there, at Jess Belmosto. And yeah, it's a great time over there. Great time.
Awesome. And I'm on Twitter at Right Said Sarah, also helpfully below me on the screen. You can find Locked On Kings at Locked On LA Kings on Twitter. All of our shows available wherever you get your podcasts. If you are new here, if this is your first time listening to this show, well, we are super glad you're here, and we hope that you come back tomorrow and every other day to get all sorts of cool NHL news here on this show. We're going to be giving out some bold predictions, some spicy takes from all of our hosts here. They're going to be appearing on the show in the near future, so keep an eye or ear out for that. Make sure you're subscribing to the show on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app of choice. Turn on notifications so you never miss a future episode, and tell your buddies all about it, because hockey is back and we are ready for it. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, this has been Locked On NHL, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.